You. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
Now pushing the limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. It is Pushing the Limits time. So glad you can join us on what is a very, very busy news day. A lot going on, a lot to talk about. And we're going to get into some stuff. Jameson Walsh, by the way, will be joining us, my hoops guru, in hour number 2. USA basketball in action tonight at T-Mobile Arena against Puerto Rico. So we'll talk to him about that and other stuff in the sports world to discuss. Some good news and some bad news for Donald Trump today. We'll get into that. Megan Rapinoe and USA Women's Soccer, an embarrassing performance, I think that's fair to say, over the weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about that. It is Monday, and that means that it's Chris Wynn Day. Chris Wynn joining us as he does every Monday, the man, the myth, the legend, who's doing about 8 shows today, by the way, on the air. Chris, thank you so much for being here.
It's good to be here, Brian. Of course, hey, it's PTL, it's Monday, action all over the place, and I think that was an attempt at a little Puerto Rican accent, if I'm not mistaken, by Brian Shapiro there.
It was.
That was interesting.
It wasn't very good, but yes,
yeah,
it was.
That was
Team
right
USA
there.
playing Puerto Rico.
I was having flashbacks to Marcus or to Carlos Arroyo.
You almost said Marcus Arroyo. He was fired a long time ago.
No, I didn't almost say it. I did say Marcus Arroyo. But, yeah, it was flashback to 2004 with Carlos Arroyo there.
So Chris, I'm going to leave this up to you. We have good news for Donald Trump and bad news for Donald Trump. There's good news and bad news for Donald Trump. Which one would you like me to start with first?
Well, being the glass half full, positive kind of guy that I am, let's go with the good news first.
There is some good news for Donald Trump. That is the second defamation suit that E. Jean Carroll has filed has this morning been dismissed by a judge. So Donald Trump is not facing any more legal trouble in regards to the E. Jean Carroll case. He lost the first case. As you remember, he was liable for sexual abuse, among other things, and he's going to have to sign a big check to her. Right. I'm sure he'll get donations for that. But the second defamation suit was filed by Carroll for things he said after the first judgment about her.
Right.
So a judge has dismissed that. I'm actually okay with it, even though I'm not okay with Donald Trump's behavior and actions. I'm actually okay with the fact that the judge dismissed it. Listen, he's got to pay a fine, but this guy's got to learn to shut up, which I don't think he's very capable of doing. As you remember, he went on Truth Social a few days ago and said, if you come after me, I'm coming after you. He's talking in regards to the DOJ. That's a threat. And again, another example of violence that could be being incited by the former president of the United States. So the DOJ took that very seriously, and they're trying to put a clamp on Donald Trump. And I don't know, what do you make of that? I guess that's my first question for you. What do you make of Donald Trump going on Truth Social saying, if you come after me, I'm coming after you? What do you make of that?
I make of it and that Donald Trump at times acts like a 6-year-old. And he is 77 years old, and he acts like an infant or acts like an adolescent that is constantly bitching and moaning all the time. He always has a grievance. He always takes the approach. He has a monstrous chip on his shoulder, and it's very frustrating because you want someone who is at his age, that has the experience and life experience that he has, to act like an adult. And there are numerous examples and times in which the former president of the United States does not act that way. He acts like a child. And it's part of his malignant narcissism. We get it. All right. He's a guy that takes one of the aspects of malignant narcissism is someone who's kind of a sadist, right? Someone who takes pleasure in, talking down on people and blasting people and takes pleasure in that type of activity. Donald Trump is one of those people that enjoys that. So it's very disheartening is the way I'll put it. And I think that he's someone that's the way he's operated his entire life, and he's not changing.
Special counsel Jack Smith's team asked the U.S. district judge on Friday to quickly set limits on what Trump's team can do with the evidence that will be shared with them. The request pointed to a post by Trump on Truth Social that I just mentioned to argue that the former president has had a habit of speaking publicly about the details of the various legal proceedings he's facing. And in recent days regarding this case, the defendant has issued, they said, multiple posts, either specifically or by implication, including the following, which the defendant posted just hours ago when he says, if you go after me, I'm coming after you. Again, this isn't the first time Donald Trump has done this. If you remember, he's gone after judges before and even made racist comments about judges before.
Absolutely. Judge Curiel,
yeah.
that talking about how he couldn't do his job because he was Mexican.
Which was absurd.
I mean, give me a break.
By the way, born in this country, too, by the way.
Yes.
Absolutely ridiculous. So, listen, it doesn't matter whether you're the former president of the United States or not. The law, can be directed at you as well. You can't just say and do certain things, especially during a situation where you've been indicted. And it's unfortunate, that there are a lot of people in this country. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump is charged with. It doesn't matter how serious the alleged crimes are that may have been committed. There's always going to be a large portion of Republicans that are still going to support Donald Trump over Joe Biden. And as I've said over and over again on this show, Joe Biden is far from perfect. I would rather him not run in 2024, and I know, Chris, you agree with me on that. But with that being said, he can run on his record. I do believe he can, and I do believe he will, and I do believe if it's Donald Trump versus Joe Biden's going to win. Now, a lot of people ask me why. Why, Brian? Why do you think that Joe Biden would defeat Donald Trump today? Well, it's pretty simple. I don't even think it's really an opinion, but maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't found one person that voted for Joe Biden in 2020. Not one. That will say today, you know what? I don't like that Joe Biden. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. I haven't found one person. Have you, Chris?
Well, here's the thing, Brian. I mean, I'm still flabbergasted, blown away. Use whatever adjective you want to use. That we're still discussing Donald Trump in any real context running for president of the United States ever again. It's absolutely preposterous, and it's a joke. It absolutely is. We just talked last week. The man just got indicted for the third time. Not the first time, not the second time, but the third time. And he's about to get indicted again in Georgia for crimes in which he committed. All right?
With Raffensperger.
Stop.
Yeah.
This whole thing, we just talked about Donald Trump, right? How he acts, how he doesn't act like an adult.
Yeah.
One other aspect of being an adult is taking responsibility for things that you do.
Sure.
Donald Trump takes zero responsibility for anything that he does.
That's true.
Anything that he's charged with or is accused of, it's everybody else's fault. Everybody else are the ones who are, it's the judge, it's the system, everybody's against him, he's the victim. It's all horse you know what. All right? And I'm getting fired up right now. It's a Monday afternoon, and I'm already getting fired up even thinking about this.
You know what's unfortunate,
because
Chris?
I got to be honest, Brian.
Chris.
It is laughable and it is absolutely preposterous on every level that we're still talking about this jackass possibly being the Republican nominee for president of the United States in 2024. It's absolutely.
But Chris,
here's what's unfortunate. Our country is what crazy.
So
here's
what's really unfortunate about everything.
Republicans.
Here's what's really unfortunate is that there's a lot of issues that need to be discussed between Republicans and Democrats for the good of the country, right? For example, we could be talking about health care. There's a lot of people that don't like Obamacare, but yet there's no replacement plan. But still, that's a discussion that needs to be talked about. We could be talking about inflation, right? We could be talking about maybe helping the poor. I mean, there's some stories that I want to talk about a little bit later in the program in L.A., and I want to get your thoughts on this about the homeless situation. And now apparently they're taking some of these homeless people, a lot of them, and putting them in motels. I want to get your thoughts on that. There's a lot of things that need to be talked about. Gun control, you name it. There are a lot of important issues in this country. We might disagree on how we get to the point that can help people, and that's okay. But those are the types of discussions that need to be had right now, and that's why I say this is really bad for the country. It doesn't mean I don't want Donald Trump held to account. Of course I do. This is all Donald Trump's doing. Okay, it's not George Soros. It's not Joe Biden. It's not the Democratic DOJ or a two-tier justice system like some of these people on the far right and these MAGAs would lead you to believe. We're talking about this because it's Donald Trump and it's his fault, and he's still the face of the Republican Party and the overwhelming favorite to be the nominee. But it's unfortunate. We all lose. And the reason why we all lose is because Democrats and Republicans should be focused on the actual real issues, not saying that a former president breaking the law, possibly breaking the Espionage Act, is not a serious issue. It is. I'm not downplaying that. But the problem is you have so many Republicans and Democrats say they're fighting over this and fighting over the, how the DOJ, it's the George Soros DOJ, and they're, the Democrats are saying, no, we want law and order and we want a president held to account. And then the Republicans are saying this is all politically motivated. We saw the same thing with Hillary Clinton after Benghazi, specifically. After Benghazi, the Republicans were saying it was all Hillary Clinton's fault and she's a murderer, so on and so forth. And then there were 8 Republican investigations into Benghazi where Hillary Clinton testified under oath, and they found no criminal wrongdoing. 8 criminal investigations. I can tell you right, and by the way, those were led by Republicans. This is not led by Democrats, okay? Jack Smith is not a Democrat. He has prosecuted Democrats before, including Edwards and others, and Menendez and others. This is not a Democrat or Joe Biden that has indicted Donald Trump. They have done everything according to the Constitution. If you're a constitutionalist, like so many people are on the right when it comes to gun control and everything else, then you better be consistent and be a constitutionalist here. Jack Smith has gone by the Constitution here, and a jury of his peers have indicted him multiple times now. And as Chris mentioned, there's another indictment around the corner when it comes to the Georgia case. So for these people out there that think this is the Democrat DOJ and it's George Soros, you're wrong. You're just factually inaccurate and you're wrong. Donald Trump can do no wrong in your eyes. This is nobody's fault but Donald Trump. And if you want to make comparisons between Joe Biden and Donald Trump with the classified documents, then you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, because one defied a subpoena for 16 months and one cooperated with the FBI, and his attorneys continue to cooperate with the FBI, and they've turned everything over. One case has nothing to do with the other. That's also what Republicans want to do when it comes to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. When it comes to the emails, which, by the way, was already investigated, and they found no criminal wrongdoing by Hillary Clinton, who also, by the way, testified under oath. Donald Trump will not testify under oath. I guarantee you he will not get up there on the witness stand and testify because he will perjure himself. That's why. Hillary Clinton testified under oath. It was investigated. The FBI investigated Hillary Clinton. It's just like the same people out there that say, well, Larry Elder did it on the show last week. When I bring up January 6th, he brings up Hillary Clinton. Last I checked, Democrats didn't storm the Capitol. There wasn't an insurrection, a left-wing insurrection. That didn't happen. Oh, yeah, by the way, Hillary Clinton conceded the next day. So for any of you Republicans out there that want to make the claim that, Hillary is an election denier and the Democrats are election deniers, it is the dumbest analogy I've ever heard in my life. The January 6th insurrection was led by Donald Trump because he fed lies to people who were ignorant enough to believe them, that the 2020 election was stolen and that somehow Joe Biden cheated and the Democrats cheated. It was a lie then, and it's a lie now, and it is unproven, and it is a conspiracy theory. And that is why conspiracy theories are dangerous, because it can lead to violence, like the type of violence that happened on January 6th. And I don't care whether it's a Black Lives Matter protest or January 6th, because that's another thing that Republicans like to do. What about the summer of riots? Nobody is condoning, at least nobody with a brain that's fair is condoning any violence that took place during the Black Lives Matter protests. But the difference is tens of millions of people protested. The overwhelming majority of those people protested for something called equality. And there was a small minority of those people who did some violent acts and crimes which no reasonable person would condone. The reason why people were there for January 6th was based on a lie that Joe Biden lost and Donald Trump won the election in a landslide. One was based on we want equality in Black Lives Matter protest. Another was based on Donald Trump's lie.
Well, let me add on to this, too. We're not just talking about this when it comes to Donald Trump and his legal issues. It's not just MAGA bringing up how they think it's all about Democrats and George Soros and the left is all trying to persecute Donald Trump. It's an actual reality, MAGA out there, and all of you Trump supporters. It's actually happening. Donald Trump is going to face legal consequences here. And by the way, the idea that in all of these cases, Donald Trump is going to be getting off scot-free, again, is beyond ridiculous. He's going to face the music on these. I'm not sitting here saying that the former president of the United States is going to be going to prison. I'm not sitting here saying that, his feet are going to be held to the fire, but he's going to face consequences. We can speculate as to what exactly that means, how that's going to affect the 2024 election. But I don't think there's any scenario. There shouldn't be any scenario whatsoever. And I'm talking specifically to you MAGAs out there and you Trump supporters and you Republicans who are still kind of sitting on the fence, taking the approach of, oh, I don't like how he talks, and I don't like him on Twitter or X or any social media, but I still believe in his policies. I think his policies work. Like Donald Trump is some policy wonk, which, again, is another complete BS notion. Donald Trump has never been a policy guy at all. His entire approach is all about being transactional on a day-to-day basis just to get by, and it's about grievances with him, and it's about people kissing his ass, and if you don't, there's no loyalty whatsoever from his side of things at all.
Milk toast.
Yes, he is not. Is absolutely no. I mean, again, I keep going back to this as far as him as a businessman, right? He was touted by a lot of you MAGAs out there and Trump supporters. Oh, he's a businessman. He's a great businessman. We got to have a guy in D.C. that can run things, that can be a boss. Donald Trump is not the tip of the spear in the business world. There are hundreds, I would say thousands of other people in the business world that we would look to for guidance or advice or knowledge or actual success in the business world than Donald Trump. He has been a grifter his entire career, his entire life. I will say this. He is someone who got his image out there. He's someone who is an American, I would use the word icon because his words are used in rap lyrics and songs. He has a perception that he is a symbol of success and being rich. Because he is rich, because because his family's been rich. His father was rich, and his father hooked him up with cash. And Trump was able to inherit that cash and not completely lose all of his money. But again, I bring up this phrase, the idea that Donald Trump is somehow the guy that can lead us from a business perspective is, again, utter nonsense. I mean, I'm sorry, but and circling back, Brian, to what I was saying, it's a reality. It's happening. He's charged. He's going to be going to court, and the rubber's going to meet the road when it comes to Donald Trump and these legal issues.
The idea that, because there are some people that are claiming, well, we're spewing the hatred. The idea that we spell out the facts, which some people can't spell that word, that Donald Trump is facing a lot of serious charges. And now he's probably going to be indicted for a fourth time. And the fact that we spell out facts, which is Joe Biden won the 2020 election fair and fair, and that Donald Trump has been lying since day one about the 2020 election, saying that the election was stolen. The fact that we call out Donald Trump for his actions, for his behavior, and that somehow if you're a Donald Trump supporter, you equate that to hate is probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I've heard a lot of ridiculous things in my life. We're spelling out truth and we're spelling out facts. And if you're a Donald Trump supporter, you don't like that. The fact of the matter is, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I am going to say this now because I don't think I've ever said this before. I actually believe now, and I never believed this before, that our former president will be going to jail. I believe the evidence is overwhelming. I believe it's going to happen. Now, when that happens, I don't know. How long it's going to happen, I don't know. With all the charges that he is facing, listen, if it was just the Stormy Daniels thing, I don't think that's the strongest case, I'll be honest with you. In fact, I think he could be found not guilty in that case. I don't think it's a very strong case, and I think Bragg probably made a mistake.
Wait a minute, time out. Elaborate on that. What do you mean it's not?
So here's why.
Here's why. Why would you think it's not a strong case?
Well, first of all, it's the least strongest of these other cases. That's number one, based on the evidence. We're talking about possible campaign finance violations. Right. We're not talking about the Espionage Act. We're not talking about interfering in an election interference. The difficult thing about that case, and I've read that indictment as well, is proving beyond a reasonable doubt that campaign finance violations happened. And the problem is you're relying on guys like Michael Cohen, who is a convicted felon himself. Now, he may still be found guilty in that case, but that's not going to be jail time. Those are not as serious of charges. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll be found guilty in that case. But I think those are going to be a slap on the wrist type charges, campaign finance violation charges, that sort of stuff. The point I'm trying to make is these are very serious charges that Jack Smith
There's no question that
has,
the charges in New York regarding
now,
the Stormy Daniels case are not as serious, I think,
right.
as what has transpired as far as the January 6th
Georgia
election.
is also very, very serious because you're talking about a conversation where he's saying, I need you to find me these types of votes.
It's on
what
audio.
he's doing is he's
audio.
pressuring the Secretary of State to basically overturn an election. Very similar to what he did and why January 6th happened. And the pressuring, even Mike Pence, and we're going to get to Mike Pence, by the way, next segment, because he was hazed by some Trump supporters, and we're going to get his reaction to that and also get his statements over the weekend because he's been making the rounds. Because, as you know, Mike Pence is running for president as well. He has no chance to win. Here's also what I want to do. I want to take a break, too, and I want to take some phone calls because there are a lot of people out there that are saying, Brian, you're lying. Chris, you're lying. You guys aren't telling the truth. You guys are lying. Well, guess what?
So here's what's going to happen, Brian. We're going to have another situation in which people are going to say we're lying, but they aren't going to be able to bring up examples of us lying. Is that what's going to happen here?
If you, I do this all the time with people, and I always give them the opportunity to call in and share their opinions, voice their opinions. But when you make a claim that somebody is lying about something, then you actually have to be specific as to what that is. I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to do that right now. I'm going to open up the phone lines. I'm going to give out the number. This is a live radio show so people on social media that are watching, you have to call into the show, and I will give you the platform to do so. If you think we're full of crap, that's fine. If you think we're lying, that's fine. I'll hear your point of view, but be specific, because just because you call somebody a liar doesn't mean anything. You actually have to come up with the evidence of that. I've given you the serious charges that Trump is facing. Chris eloquently went through the list, too, of Donald Trump's behavior. Tell us what we're lying about. What did Chris lie about? What am I lying about? The number to call.
Bring the receipts, people.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, bring the receipts.
Come strong.
Number to call.
Come at all.
702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program, now's the time to call in. 702 is the area code. 702-221-SAVE. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, agree or disagree. If you're one of those people that's going on social media, and there's plenty of you saying that we're lying, no problem. Tell me what we're lying about. Be specific. State the case. I'll give you the platform to do that. Again, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We're going to take a break also. He's Chris Quinn. I'm Brian Shapiro. And when we come back, Mike Pence making the rounds, doing some interviews over the weekend. Pence is finally, I guess, taking a few moments to not defend Donald Trump when it comes to January 6th. It's incredible. We'll play that audio when we come back. We'll take a quick break. We'll take your calls when we come back. Again, 702-221-7283. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Locally owned and operated, come on down to Academy of Hair Design located at 5191 West Charleston Boulevard, number 150, today to begin your career in cosmetology. There is something for everyone from cosmetology to nail technology. You will be able to have the hands-on training that is needed to succeed in this career field. Call 702-878-1185 or visit www.ahdvegas.com today.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit SapphirePoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call. 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. And tell them I sent you.
The London Bridge Resort in Lake Havasu is the perfect place to vacation in style. Their beautifully designed suites include stunning views, a kitchenette, and free Wi-Fi. The well-reviewed and affordable resort has tons of amenities, including a breakfast buffet, kids camp, a 9-hole golf course, 3 pools, a marina, boat tours, a water slide, and a great nightlife scene. London Bridge Resort is centrally located in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Go to londonbridgeresort.com to plan your getaway today. London Bridge Resort, your Arizona oasis destination.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. We had some very interesting guests last week. You know, Larry Elder joined us. It was like, or joined me. It was like a 25-minute battle back and forth. Joe Walsh, former presidential candidate. We had him on the show last week. You never know who you're going to get. Guess who we have later this week? Booked for Thursday. Anthony Weiner.
There we go.
That's right. Anthony Weiner is going to be joining us on Thursday. Boy, and guess who else we have? We have some drag queens. The sisters. They're called drag queens for a reason, because they dress in drag. And there's a lot of attacks on drag queens these days from the alt-right. I have some drag queens that are going to be joining us in studio, full decked in their outfits, and I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. We also have a very special guest Friday. I know that, Justin, would you like to announce who we have on the show Friday? I know you're a big fan.
I am a big fan.
Who do we have Friday, Justin?
Courtney Tilia.
And who's Courtney Tilia?
She's a former teacher turned OnlyFans model.
And she lost her job because she was dressed too sexy, right? It made national news. She was too revealing. Well, hopefully she comes in with that same outfit. We look forward to seeing her in studio on Friday. So we got some great guests. I heard Chris Wynn once lost his job for dressing too sexy as well. I don't know if that's true.
Never could happen.
Is that true, Chris?
I was actually promoted because of that. What are you talking about? I didn't lose my gig.
That's pretty funny.
They actually made me the boss because of that.
That's pretty funny.
Come on.
Good retort. Anyway, Chris Wynn joining us in studio. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. They got some great promotions lined up this month, including a $50 match play per week.
There you go.
You can go in there and put in $50, and you roll through $50, you get $50 in free play. How cool is that? Great promotions, great atmosphere, great food, great people. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Okay, Chris. So Mike Pence has been on the campaign trail. And there's a video that was circulating online. I'm not going to play this video, but there was a video that was circulating online where Mike Pence is taking a picture with a family after speaking, and the MAGAs are screaming at him, "You're a traitor! You're a traitor! You defied the Constitution." And he goes, "No, I didn't. Why don't you try reading the Constitution?" Like he's arguing with these MAGAs, and it's really funny. But then I say to myself, you deserve this because you're the one who decided to get on the ticket with Donald Trump. You deserve it. And you brown-nosed him for 4 years, so I don't feel bad for Mike Pence at all. But he is making the rounds, Chris, and he's doing a lot of interviews. And while he's still at times, in my opinion, a Trump defender in a lot of situations, he is speaking some truth when it comes to what Donald Trump asked him to do on January 6th, because the defense by Donald Trump and his Republican friends are, he just asked you to pause on the election results. Remember that? That's the argument by the people on the right. And Mike Pence is saying, no, that's not true. Have a listen to this.
I was clear on that throughout. I was clear with President Trump throughout, all the way up to the morning of January 6th. But let's be clear on this point. It wasn't just that they asked for a pause. The president specifically asked me, and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers asked me to literally reject votes, which would have resulted in the issue being turned over to the House of Representatives, and literally chaos would have ensued. So, Martha, I just people can read the indictment, and frankly, I've said before, I had hoped it had not come to this point. You know, I don't know if the government can meet the standard, the burden of proof beyond reasonable doubt for criminal charges. But the American people deserve to know that President Trump and his advisors didn't just ask me to pause. They asked me to reject votes, return votes, essentially to overturn the election, and to keep faith with the oath that I made to the American people and to Almighty God. I rejected that out of hand, and I did my duty that day.
Yeah, I love it when Pence says Almighty God, Mr. Religious. But anyway, how about that? Pence calling Trump's attorneys a gaggle of crackpot lawyers. I thought that was kind of funny. That's how he's referring to some of Donald Trump's attorneys back then, like Eastman and Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah.
They weren't just asking Mike Pence to halt and put everything on pause. They were asking Mike Pence, and you heard it himself, to overturn the outcome of the election. Why is that so hard?
To disenfranchise millions of voters across the country, essentially, and take away their votes.
Yes. That's exactly what they asked him to do. That is part of the crime, and that is why Donald Trump, it's interesting because so many people out there, Chris, say, well, let's just give him a plea deal and no jail time, and Donald Trump agrees that he'll never run for office again. And I say to myself, here's a man in Donald Trump who has never had to have been held to account for anything, all the wrongdoings that he's done in his life. He's had yes men around him his whole life. He's had nobody around him that has ever said, no, Mr. Trump, you can't do that.
Right.
Finally, he didn't get his way. He lost the 2020 election. Finally, people are finally saying enough's enough. He's got to be held to account. And he can't handle it. He doesn't know how to handle it.
Well, that's the thing. You had Larry Elder on this show last week, and he said a lot of things that were factually inaccurate and that are his opinions that were kind of ridiculous.
Right. And
one of those was that, well, Donald Trump's defense is the First Amendment. It's the First Amendment, right? You just, he should be able to say he has the right to lie about the 2020 election if he wants to. The difference is it's not about what he said. It's about the actions that took place on January 6th by him and his minions, where they tried to circumvent the 2020 election in different ways, where they actually took action. That's what he's being charged with. He's not being charged because he said things, right? I'll use the analogy, and this is one of the best analogies I've heard. It's one thing if you are spending money, right? It's one thing if you're spending money that's actually real. It's another thing if you actually make counterfeit money and then try to spend that.
Right.
If you try to make counterfeit money and spend that, you're going to jail, right? If you spend real money, obviously you're not going to jail because it's real money.
Right.
It's the same kind of situation. Where it's the same. The analogy. It's a little strange, the analogy, but still, I'll stand by it.
Listen,
but
too little, too late.
the point being is that it is not just about Donald Trump and his First Amendment rights. It's about what actually took place on that day,
right,
where they tried to do things that are illegal, basically.
And what I try to again explain to people on the far right that defend Donald Trump is Jack Smith is a guy that most people characterize him as leaning to the right. As a Republican, he's gone after Democrats. But, it's interesting when Jack Smith prosecuted Edwards. And listen, John Edwards was a scumbag. Remember, he's the guy who ran for president, who impregnated another woman when he was married. Just a bad guy, even though that's not a crime, not a good guy. But Edwards went after him for criminality. And I didn't hear Democrats saying that this was the Republican DOJ run by Republicans. This was a political witch hunt on John Edwards. I didn't hear Democrats saying that. And Republicans, for the most part, want to call themselves the law and order party. Well, if you call yourself the law and order party, then why do you keep attacking the DOJ? Why do you keep calling it a two-tier justice system? Well, we know that's not true. Republicans have been unable to find any evidence at all linking Joe Biden to any crimes that were committed in regards to his son Hunter. His son Hunter is a private citizen. If Hunter Biden committed any crimes, then let the justice system treat it as it is. But I haven't seen any evidence that Joe Biden has committed any crimes. They've been investigating it for how long now? And you even had Kevin McCarthy. You couldn't find somebody more biased than Kevin McCarthy when it comes to Hunter Biden. And even he said a few weeks ago that to this point they haven't found any direct evidence. Because if there was any, they would have released it by now. You want to talk about a real witch hunt? Joe Biden, investigating Joe Biden for breaking laws. If there was a there, we would have heard about it by now.
Well, you know what's super annoying, though, and irritating, is that when you talk about something enough and you bring it up enough, and I'll talk about this when it comes to the Hunter Biden laptop, right? All this discussion in the last probably year or so, right? Obviously ramping up to the 2024 election. And Republicans and MAGA, that's something that they want to focus on. You start to talk about it, Brian, enough, and people start to believe it. They actually start to believe that it's a real thing and that it's really important and that it's actually some nefarious thing that Joe Biden is involved in. They don't necessarily care about facts. They don't care about the actual evidence at all. They just latch on to, statements being made by certain Republicans or television and radio talking heads that are out there trying to bring credence to this, right? Trying to bring some validity to the whole thing surrounding Hunter Biden because he's had his legal issues, right? Because he does have actual legal issues that he's dealing with, right? So the assumption that's been made by people on the right and MAGA and Trump supporters is that and people that just flat out hate Biden and hate Democrats, period, is that there's some validity to this. There's actual evidence to this. You've had guests on all the time that bring it up and talk about it like it's something that is absolutely a real thing. And I go on social media, right? And I'll go on YouTube and I'll go on TikTok and I'll go on all these social media outlets, and you'll hear people like Vivek Ramaswamy, right? Who's another Republican, much more polished individual, extremely articulate.
By the way, he might be coming
right?
on the show.
Okay, so that's great. But he's somebody obviously well educated, right? And he packages it in a way in which, you know what? The way he presents it to me, it has a lot of credence. It has a lot.
Sometimes
there's some meat on it. You know what I'm saying, though. He approaches it, and a lot of you MAGAs out there and Republicans, you listen to Vivek and you say, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. There's got to be something to this. When in fact, if you actually sat down and dug deeper and looked at the actual what he's talking about, it does not have validity. It is not something that is credible in any way, shape, or form.
I agree. I agree with you, and I want to bring up something that Vivek said over the weekend, and this is why I could never vote for somebody like him. So, talking about gun violence, he was doing an interview on CNN.
Yeah.
And in talking about gun violence, he didn't talk about gun control. He didn't talk about, mental illness. He didn't talk about measures that could be done or things that he would pass. You know what he talked about?
What?
He talked about how he's a champion for gun violence because he went to Nashville, and he talked about the transgender shooter because he's trying to pressure local law enforcement to release the manifesto.
Right.
Now, first of all, that's red meat for Republicans, and that's why he's doing it. And he's being very disingenuous because less than 1% of all mass shooters are transgenders. That's number one. The fact that this shooter was a transgender, to me, doesn't have any bearing. But let's just assume something for a moment. Let's just assume that, and I hate to use that term, transgender shooter. It's like calling somebody a gay shooter or a straight shooter or a female shooter. Who cares? A shooter is a shooter. A murderer is a murderer. Don't care whether they're transgender or not. But Vivek apparently does, or his base does. Let's just assume for a moment that in that manifesto, the transgender shooter is attacking people that are not transgender, and let's just assume it was a hate crime.
Right.
Even if that was the case, which, by the way, I'm not sure it was, even if that was the case, what is Vivek going to do about it? What is he trying to prove? That all transgenders are bad? Because obviously they're not. That all these transgenders are committing mass shootings? Which obviously they're not. I'll tell you what he's doing. He's appealing to the base of far-right Republicans that want to take another opportunity to go after the transgender community because we had one transgender that committed this horrible crime. He's not talking about all the other shootings. He's not talking about all the gun violence in this country. He's not talking about how Republicans fizzled out the assault weapons ban. He's not talking about how an 18-year-old, when the day they turn 18, like what happened in Texas, Uvalde, can walk into a gun store when they turn 18. Doesn't matter whether they're transgender or not. Can walk into a gun store, Chris, and buy thousands of rounds of ammunition and a bunch of AR-15s with zero training. He doesn't want to talk about that. He wants to talk about one transgender shooter in Nashville. That's why I would never vote for this guy, because he is too smart to do that. He is a smart guy. Yeah. He's very well spoken. But he's doing it for one reason only, not because he wants to end all the gun violence in this country, because I believe if he did, he would actually talk about the real issues. Instead, he wants to talk about this one shooting in Nashville. Why? Why wouldn't he talk about the shooting in Texas, El Paso? Not that far.
Right.
Where a MAGA supporter, if you want to label people, went into a Walmart to kill a bunch of brown people. He doesn't want to talk about that. He wants to talk about one shooter in Nashville and a manifesto. That's really important to him. You know why? Because it's important to his base. People on the far right want to talk about one transgender shooter, but they don't want to talk about all the other mass shootings in this country because they don't have any solutions. Vivek doesn't have any solutions to gun control, but he makes these appearances on TV to appeal to his base. I would never vote for a guy like that. Never. Never.
It's appealing to the lowest common denominator, essentially. And yes, you would think that someone like Vivek, you would elevate himself above that, right? You'd think he would.
You would think.
But he doesn't.
Yeah.
And I'll be straight with you. I think a lot of his perspective is based on his bias. It's based on him being bigoted, and it's based on him being judgmental of people that he does not.
No, I agree.
He doesn't think should have.
We agree on Vivek. There's no question.
I mean,
about
I
that.
just think that's the way he is.
I agree.
Period.
No, I agree. 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program, 702-221-7283. Let's go with Paul. Paul, what's going on, man?
What's up, Paul?
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Good. What's on your mind?
I called like a month. No, I guess kind of on subject a little bit. Maybe you could enlighten me here, and I'm a man of faith. How can people consider this man a Christian? Like, he didn't rent to black people. He cheated on his third wife with a porn star.
Right.
He sexually assaulted a woman in the dressing room. He stole top secret documents.
Yeah.
And none of that moves the needle. And I'm genuinely curious. How do they continue to justify?
Yeah.
I mean, if we say you're supposed to judge a man by the fruits of his vine, and this man is not. My cat is more of a Christian than Trump.
Paul, I'm going to give you the best. Paul, I agree with everything you said, and it's a good question.
It's straight delusion, Brian.
And I'm going to give you, Paul,
Yeah.
the best answer I can
Delusion.
in this way. When you look at the evangelical right, you want to talk about, a good Christian, right? Treating everybody as equals, helping the poor, so on and so forth. Just about everybody on the far evangelical right calls being gay a sin. So you're contradicting yourself, and it's hypocritical when you say we should treat everybody as equals, but because somebody is different than you, we're going to call them a sinner. The answer is being a hypocrite. And many of these people out there that talk about their faith all the time, yet they still support Donald Trump, who's one of the biggest sinners of them all. And you're right. Yes, he did have sex with a porn star after Melania Trump just had Barron. But we also forget the 25-plus women that have accused Donald Trump of sexual assault, including his own ex-wife in court documents, by the way. His own ex-wife accused him of raping her. And then what did he do? He gave her a lot of money to keep her quiet. But yet there are people that, nobody's perfect, they'll say. Nobody's perfect. Well, let me tell you something. I agree. Nobody's perfect.
But here's my problem, Brian, is the second a Democrat does something wrong, like this laptop that they've never seen, they don't know where it is, they don't know what's on it, all of a sudden, that's 100% fact that they're all going to hell because God doesn't forget Democrats. But all this other stuff that Trump does because he's a Republican and because they agree with him ideologically, all of a sudden there's forgiveness. But when it's someone that's not agreeing with them, all of a sudden they're going to burn in hell forever. And
Paul,
I couldn't
agree with you more. And Paul, I'm even going to give you another example. And I've talked about this on the radio, and I think you'll agree with me on this. When Mitch McConnell had his medical episode, right, he froze. I'm not a doctor, but I think we all could agree something medically happened to him there. Joe Biden, what does he do? He picks up the phone hours later, and he calls Mitch, not to argue with him about policy. He calls him just to see how he was doing. Elected Democrats across the country on social media, we wish Mitch McConnell well. We hope he's okay. Nobody was calling him a vegetable. Nobody was making fun of him, at least not people that are in elected office. But then what did Donald Trump do? He didn't pick up the phone. He didn't call McConnell. What did they do after Fetterman? After Fetterman had a stroke, Republicans, elected officials like Ted Cruz, called Fetterman a vegetable. They were making fun of his speech impediments. And that is the fundamental difference today between most elected officials that are Democrats and most elected officials that are Republicans. We could agree and disagree with people on policy, but there is a human decency involved here, and that is a fundamental difference.
I was a Republican for all of my life until Trump became in office. And then when I saw the church worshiping him as their orange Jesus after he banged a porn star, it became a cult of one man because there was no more morality. You can't justify all of that and then turn a blind eye and then talk about some stupid laptop that you've never seen all because it's a Democrat. It's like, it's just insane how these people somehow pick one verse in Leviticus about a man shall not lie with a man, but it's okay for a man to lie with a porn star while he's on his third wife. Somehow that's okay.
Amen.
And Paul, add on to the question you asked regarding Donald Trump, right? And why evangelicals think he's on board with them. The only reason a lot of the people that have half a brain that are evangelicals even deal with Donald Trump is because he had that R next to his name when he was president, and because Republicans were able to do things that evangelicals wanted, i.e., the abortion. They were able to take positions that evangelicals wanted to take. So it's not like Donald Trump is this, God-fearing, church-going evangelical by any stretch of the imagination. It's just the fact that he was a Republican president and Republicans were able to do things for evangelicals. That's why.
Right, and their whole premise is libtards are murdering babies. No, I'm saying that a woman has a free will, because if you're going to use that argument as a Christian, and I hope everyone's listening, then you're going to say that God encouraged Adam and Eve to eat the apple because he gave them the same free will to make their choice, and Cain and Abel and Hitler, right?
Well, Paul and Brian, here's the deal, right? You think Donald Trump, you don't think about someone who's been an evangelical or a Republican his entire life. What do you think? You think he's been a lefty. The guy is, and he's a philanderer. The guy's, he's absolutely in no way, shape, or form somebody that would be considered an evangelical at all.
Paul, great call, my friend. You call back anytime.
Thanks,
okay, thank you, Paul.
Thanks. Bye.
Appreciate it. 702-221-7283 is the number to call.
The Bible-toting Donald Trump,
if we are going to talk about religion, I will share a story with you, and I think I told Chris this story over the weekend, so I'll repeat it quickly. I remember this was maybe, Chris, 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about religion now. It got involved with Donald Trump. And I'm dating this girl, nice family, and she's like, can you please go to church with me with my family? And now I'm not a very religious person. I do believe in God. I'm not an atheist, but I don't let religion dictate my life.
Right.
But I said, okay, I'll suffer through it. I don't want to go to church any more than I don't want to go to synagogue, right? The pastor at this church was making his speech, on a Sunday, and he used the term queer, and he was degrading people who happened to be homosexual. And he used the term queer, describing them in a derogatory way.
Okay, it's derogatory. Yeah, because it's all about context, that word.
And very derogatory. And listen, there are kids at this church. It was a packed church.
Yeah.
I was embarrassed for the people that work at this church. I was disgusted. And you know me. When something really is lingering and bothering me, I don't just let it sit. So I shook his hand afterwards, and I said, I just want you to know I think you're a disgrace. You're a disgrace to Christianity, and you're a disgrace to the good people in this church for you using that term with kids around here. And, there's probably people who are gay in your family and in this church right now. And for you to describe people like that, I said, you're pathetic and you're a disgrace, and I'll never come to this church again, and you should be ashamed of yourself, and you're disgusting. And he gave me this blank stare, and I could tell he wanted to say something, but he didn't. Now, the girl never went out with me again after that, which is fine. Because I knew because I don't really get along with extremely religious people to begin with anyway. And listen, people can believe whatever they want to believe. But when you call yourself a pastor, a priest, a rabbi, I don't care what religion it is, and you degrade people in public too, because their sexuality might be different than yours or whatever, their skin color, whatever the case may be, and you do that, you're not a leader. You're a bigot. And that's what this man was, and he probably still is. And this idea that, you're wholesome, and I don't care what religion it is. It could be Judaism, it could be Christianity. I'm not attacking one religion. I'm just attacking religion in general term and not even really attacking it. Just saying, if you call yourself a wholesome person and you're a person of faith, then maybe you should do the good thing in life, and that's not judge other people because they might be a little different than you. Could be a different sexuality, so on and so forth. And again, some of Donald Trump's biggest supporters are those that call themselves faith. They talk about faith and the alt-right, Christianity, and that. And that guy who just called in, Paul, is 100% right. You couldn't find somebody that's probably one of the biggest sitters that's been in office than Donald Trump. With the womanizing, the constant cheating, attacking POWs, attacking Gold Star families, saying we don't like Mexicans, talking about how they're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people, which is, by the way, a horrible thing to say and not true. How can you call yourself a religious person and then say, well, you know what? We're going to put all that stuff aside, and I'm still going to support Donald Trump because we don't like Joe Biden's policies, or we don't like his son. There could be some crazy stuff on that laptop. It makes absolutely no sense to me, and they're hypocrites.
The key word you used was judgmental, a judgment, people judging people. It happens all the time with respect to evangelicals and people of faith. I'm not saying it's not everybody out there that's an evangelical or a person of faith is bigoted or judgmental. But the ones that are the ones that we know about, right? The ones that speak up and unleash their bigotry and their judgmental ideas are the ones that we focus on. And look, here's the thing. It's always hilarious, right, when you go on social media, whether you go on the first guy that comes to my mind is Jordan Klepper from Comedy Central, right, The Daily Show. When they go out and they interview, they go to the Republican National Convention, and he talks to evangelicals, these people who are deeply religious, right? And they have these comments regarding the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, and they talk about him like he was sent by God to represent us. And he's, like the good Lord, Jesus Christ, anointed Donald Trump, our savior. And, and God is going to use him, Brian Shapiro. And it's that kind of talk.
Yeah.
That, again, those of us who want to sit back and take a rational, reasonable look at this are blown away by some of the comments that these evangelicals make regarding Donald Trump in some way, shape, or form being some type of even close to a religious figure. It's blasphemy, right?
It is.
I run out of adjectives describing it.
I lose credibility. You lose credibility with hypocrites, right?
Exactly.
When there's double standards and when there's hypocrites out there, and there's certainly plenty of them out there. Don't preach to me about being a good, wholesome human being. Don't preach to me about all that stuff when you support Donald Trump. I just don't want to hear it from you.
And here's a quick thing too, Brian. Right? What happens when those people who are constantly hammering the LGBT community? What happens, Brian Shapiro, when their daughter, their son,
I'll tell you.
their niece, their nephew,
I got an answer for
ends
you.
up being gay?
I got an
and
answer
part of that
for you.
community.
Here's a perfect example of
Yes.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, and the Cheney
Exactly.
family couldn't be more conservative than them. They were anti-gay. They were anti-gay marriage. They were anti-LGBTQ community until they found out that a member of their family was gay, until it happens to you. And then all of a sudden they changed their mind and admitted they were wrong, because that's what so many of these Republicans do. They don't speak out. They don't speak up against what's right until it happens to them, and then maybe they change their minds. Well, guess what? I ain't waiting that long.
Yeah.
I ain't waiting until it happens to me. I'm going to be on the right side of history. There's nothing wrong with transgenders. There's nothing wrong with drag queens reading books to kids. There's nothing wrong with being gay. And there's nothing wrong with being honest. There is something wrong with breaking the law and lying about an election and inciting an insurrection and trying to overturn an outcome of an election and cheating on your wife with a porn star just after your wife has a child and then lying about it in documents that are financial documents and pressuring the Georgia Secretary of State and defying a subpoena for 16 months. There is something wrong about that, and it's breaking the law, and that's why Donald Trump is going to be held to account, and you mark my words, eventually he's going to jail. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to open up the phone lines on the other side, 702-221-7283. Again, that number if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. What does Donald Trump have in common with the U.S. women's soccer team? Well, I'll answer that when we come back. I know Chris is going to have a lot of opinions on that debacle. I think he lost a few bucks on the U.S. women's team. Megan Rapinoe calling it quits. We'll talk a little bit about that when we're coming back and what the heck happened to this team. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines, beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable daybed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. And tell them I sent you. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Hungry for the best barbecue in Las Vegas? Come out to the infamous barbecue and meat market, John Mole's Meats and Roadkill Grill in Las Vegas. John Mole's was featured on the Food Network's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Now take home delicious meat selections for your grill, and while you're there, grab a bite of the best barbecue in Las Vegas. With 2 locations now at Tom and Gowan or on North Decatur, you're sure to find the perfect meats for your next barbecue or party. Find us online at johnmolemeats.com.
The Vegas Voice, Tuesday morning at 10 on KSHP North Las Vegas, AM and FM, K29 6HP North Las Vegas, and KSHP.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. The big man, Paul McKeskey, is going to be co-hosting with me tomorrow. We've got some drag queens that are going to be coming in studio on Wednesday. Anthony Weiner is going to be joining us live on Thursday.
You want to talk about a controversial guy, Anthony Weiner.
Yeah, very. I'm happy to have him on. I want to tell you guys somebody who's not controversial. His grandfather, the late, great governor of the state of Nevada, Kenny Gwynn. Of course, I'm talking about Blake Gwynn, who works with Keller Williams. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home, he gave them great advice. He'll help you. Even if you're just thinking of buying or selling your home, please give this guy a call at Keller Williams. Call Blake Gwynn. Tell him I sent you. I promise you he will take care of you. The number to call is 702-540-3311. And again, that number is 702-540-3311. Give Blake Gwynn a call. All right, so I'll be honest with you guys. I don't talk a lot of U.S. women's soccer. It's not something I do on a regular basis. I'm not a big soccer fan to begin with. Of course I'm going to root for the United States to win, right? But it's interesting because I was criticizing, Chris, the U.S. women's soccer team after I believe it was their game. Was it against Puerto Rico? Their last game. And
against Portugal.
Or Portugal, I'm sorry. Yes. Got my countries mixed up. Puerto Rico's tonight, USA basketball.
Exactly.
Got my countries mixed up. But, Chris, I criticized the U.S. women's team then, and it had nothing to do with politics, right? A lot of people are going to interject politics in this. I'm not. I criticized the U.S. women's soccer team because they were celebrating on the field, and Megan Rapinoe and some of her teammates were dancing around. And I'm thinking to myself, you couldn't score a goal against an inferior team. You barely squeaked through. The only reason why you did squeak through is because of a post. They hit the post with like a couple minutes to go. You should have lost that game to Portugal. And you're dancing around the field like you just accomplished something. So that was my criticism then. I didn't like their behavior then after the game. I thought it was very unprofessional. And then they lose in the World Cup to Sweden. Another big upset. And the U.S. women's soccer team and Megan Rapinoe after the game was saying that they played really great. That is a direct quote. And I'm thinking to myself, you didn't score a goal in over 300 minutes. And you're telling me your team played great? The talent they have on this team, and again, I was speaking to people that actually do follow this team on a regular basis, and they were telling me the talent on this team is about 4 times more than what Sweden had, about 10 times more than what Portugal had. And these are coming from people that cover the team and know what they're talking about, right? This was an embarrassing loss. Their behavior on the field was embarrassing over the last few weeks. And listen, Megan Rapinoe is certainly going to go down to an illustrious career. I know a lot of people on the far right want to attack her because she is a gay woman. But, and listen, I don't agree with a lot of her takes on transgenders, and we can get into that. But
Right.
Megan Rapinoe has had an unbelievable soccer career. Nobody can take that away from her. Was she terrible this year? Did she have a horrible couple weeks? Absolutely. Some people want to use the term choke. Did she choke? Okay, fine. Maybe the team did choke. Maybe she did choke. Do I like some of her behavior? Do I like some of her takes? No. Megan Rapinoe is going to go down as a Hall of Famer. She's one of the best female soccer players in the history of the sport. Let's just start right there. So enough of the nonsense. Did she have a horrible performance? Yes. Did the team have a horrible performance? Yes. Megan Rapinoe is still one of the best to ever play the game. I don't agree with a lot of her takes when it comes to equal pay. I certainly don't agree with her takes when it comes to transgenders playing in women's professional sports. It's outrageous and it's ridiculous and it's harmful, and I don't even think she really understands the harm that she is doing. It's okay to treat everybody as equals and, talk about the LGBTQ community. I'm all for it. Let's support that. But to say that it's okay for someone transgender to be competing with women on the field, on the ice, on a basketball court, in the ring is absurd. It is absurd and it is ridiculous. So that's harmful. So listen, a lot of the people on the far right, she's the poster child for hatred. I understand that. But this was a shocking and totally unexpected loss early, and it shouldn't have happened. There are some people that are saying the players are hostile to America. I don't know if I would agree with that statement. But Trump put out a statement saying that many of the players were openly hostile to America, and he said no other country behaved in such a manner or even close. The last person that should be talking about behavior and representing the United States of America should be Donald Trump, by the way. He called them woke equals failure. Those are some of Donald Trump's comments. I don't know.
Let me preface my statements by kind of echoing what your sentiment at the top of this. I'm not someone to sit here and act like I'm some expert when it comes to women's soccer in any way, shape, or form. Yes, we do focus on it because what? Because it's the World Cup and because we are proud Americans and we want to see our teams do well. Mm-hmm. So let me start with that. That being said, the U.S. women's soccer team has been the gold standard when it comes to international play in the last couple of decades plus, right? Going back to the Brandi Chastain, ripping the shirt off moment at the L.A. Coliseum in that World Cup. And they have been the team, either one of the teams picked to win every year that they play it, or the team picked every year. So the standard is very high with this women's team. Now, obviously, there were different kind of aspects that came into play here entering this World Cup. You talked about a number of them, the situations regarding the national anthems, the comments made by certain players, kind of the perception of the players, some of the players across the board. Obviously, I'm talking about Megan Rapinoe. I'm even talking about the young 22-year-old star as well, too. And then you get to the moment where they and they didn't play great, excuse me, in the earlier rounds. They make it to the round of 16, and they were expected to beat Sweden in this game. And then it becomes a situation where nobody can score a goal. Megan Rapinoe's like, yeah, we played great. Not really. Your goalkeeper played great in that game. Nobody scored any goals in the game. Up front, offensively, you weren't really good at all, and weren't able to even break the ice scoring. And then it gets into a penalty kick situation. And Brian, wasn't it just apropos kind of how it played out? Because Megan Rapinoe had a chance to get them advanced to the next round. If she scores the goal there on that penalty kick, they win the game. Mm-hmm. And she airmails it. And then I believe the 22-year-old star whose name's escaped me right now, the young player who's she's like the next generation for Team USA. also had a chance, I believe, to extend the penalty kicks.
Yeah.
And then she ended up missing two as well. And that was after USA came out strong in the penalty kicks. I mean, they came out guns blazing, and I believe they took an early lead and took kind of took the forefront there on the penalty kicks. So they end up losing. But it almost felt, Brian, and I'd like to. I mean, I want to hear your take on this. It almost felt like, it's not. You used the word shocking that they lost. I don't think it was shocking that they lost. Sweden's a good team. The United States, I don't even think they were favored, right, to win the World Cup. I think England, despite the fact they have a bunch of injuries, I think England was actually favored, and I think there's, I believe Japan's up there too as well as a team that could win the World Cup. Again, I'm not going to sit here like an expert on women's soccer, but the point being is that there's a certain standard that Team USA on the women's side of soccer has held for a long, long time. So when they do lose in the World Cup, it ends up being a surprise. I don't know about shocking, but it ends up being a surprise. But the comment I want to get from you is that it seemed almost apropos that after all the hammering that Megan Rapinoe has, and I think a lot of it's been justified as far as people talking about her.
Yeah.
That she's the one that had the game on the line and ends up not coming through.
Yeah.
And the team ends up losing. I think it just seemed like it was.
Well, she called it.
It was to me, it was not surprising at all. And I don't want to sound like an a-hole here because by the way, I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Brian Shapiro, at what 2:45 a.m. I believe it was.
It was
when I was awake. Excuse me. Watching that game,
Yep.
And then the penalty kick started. I think it was like 5:30 when the penalty kicks went off in the morning. So I don't know if it says about my dedication towards women's soccer, but hey, I digress. It just seemed like it was a perfect thing that happened, and I was not. And when I say I don't want to sound like an a-hole, it almost seemed to me like it just seemed like it was an apropos ending for the women's soccer team.
So what was your question?
To lose in that way? No, I'm making a comment, and then I want to get your kind of take as to how it all ended. It just seemed like apropos. Like apropos is the word I'm going to use.
Well,
that they went down in that fashion
I'll
where
say
Megan
this.
Rapinoe had a chance and then wasn't able to come through.
Well, I'll say this. Rapinoe, after the game, called it a sick joke, the way it ended. She obviously choked. If you're still the veteran leader of this team, and you certainly don't want to retire and end your career like that. She still has had an illustrious career, one of the best female soccer players of all time. But, yeah, it didn't end well for her. And by the way, that has nothing to do with my opinions on political stuff. Obviously, her takes on transgenders playing in sports is absurd. Some of her takes are completely ridiculous and dangerous, but I'm strictly talking not about that. I'm talking about her soccer play in general and the play of this team.
Our guy, Chris Magnum Chapman, our colleague over at Fox Sports Radio, he chimes in talking about, as a guy who is a soccer guy and watches a ton of it, the U.S. would have been my third choice after England and Spain. So Spain's another team that was really good too.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But we haven't even mentioned it. It was interesting. But Brian, and the end of the game too. How perfect? I mean, not perfect's not the right word, but how kind of hilarious how that all shakes out. Sweden scores. The goalkeeper the goalkeeper who's been unbelievable. Let me finish. The goalkeeper who's been unbelievable the whole game ends up making kind of a save, but the goal ends up crossing the line, and then it takes like a minute and a half, and then all of a sudden everybody on Team Sweden celebrating.
Well, listen,
it was so America how we lost that game.
So we'll close by saying this. Obviously, if they had lost to Portugal, that would have been a huge upset. Yes, Sweden's a good soccer team. I understand that. But it's the fact that they weren't able to score one goal in over 300 minutes of World Cup soccer. That's what's really bad. You got to find a way to get a few in the net, and they weren't able to do that. But anyway, that's about the most.
Sweden's number 3. Let me
three in the world. Yes,
Sweden's
I
number 3 in the world.
I understand.
And they beat the United States 2 years ago.
I understand they're 3 in the world. I said they're a good team, but it's the fact I emphasize that they weren't able to score one goal in over 300 minutes. That's unacceptable, and that's 20 more minutes of U.S. women's soccer that I've ever talked about in the last 20 years of my.
That was for you, Mags.
Radio career. I do want to switch topics real quickly, Chris, and I want to get your take on something else that is very controversial that's happening only a few hours from here in L.A. I was reading about this story, and they've already implemented it, and that is we know that we have a huge homeless issue everywhere in this country, certainly here, particularly in downtown Las Vegas. So in L.A., what they're trying to do, and what they are doing now, is they're moving homeless people into motels. but there is a catch-22, so to speak. If you notice, a lot of these homeless people, the streets are disgusting. The tents, the drugs, it's dangerous. So what they're saying is, okay, we'll put you in a motel. You'll have a bed, you'll have a shower, but you have to allow us to destroy your tent and throw it away, and you get to only take 2 bags with you. So for a lot of these people, 2 bags is not enough, right? They have to say goodbye to all their personal belongings, and that's their home. That's their protection. Some people are doing it, some people are not, but it seems to be working in at least some areas because the streets are getting cleaned up a little bit. And I would also say these people that are homeless, I would imagine some of them are not very safe. Maybe they have drug addiction, alcohol addiction, whatever the case may be, but they're certainly, their health is going to be better with a roof over their head, a real roof, and walls and a shower. So I actually applaud LA for they're trying to do something. What do you make of this? And what do you make of some of these homeless people being moved to motels? And it's probably going to be implemented in other cities because it seems it's not perfect.
Right.
Because some of the motels have been closed, and they're having to reopen these motels at the taxpayer dollars money that's going to that. My understanding is some of these motels, they don't have blankets, they don't have pillows. It's not perfect, but it seems to be working. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, obviously, when it comes to something like this, it's pretty much straightforward as far as a social program, right? It's something that we're trying to improve society, and we're trying to do it in this fashion. A couple of the aspects that you brought up, the details regarding, a couple of bags is not enough for some of these people. Look, I'm not going to sit here and act like I've never been homeless before, so I don't even know what the mindset is when it comes to that. But I would have to believe, in my opinion, that it would be probably more of a quality of life thing or a better thing if you had an opportunity to go to a hotel, right, and have a room,
right,
as opposed to being on the street,
right,
in a tent situation where you could be at real risk as far as physical harm or just being out in the elements. It's not a great thing, especially for people, as you pointed out, that might have drug addiction issues, people that have age issues, right, that are elderly, that necessarily can't be. I mean, are you kidding me? In Las Vegas, for example, if we're talking about Las Vegas, when it's 120 degrees outside, like it's detrimental to people's health. So, I approach these type of scenarios and situations from a place of compassion and empathy, Brian, and want to just do the right thing, and want to improve society. And I would expect most people would approach it that way, right? Most people would want to have take an approach of how can we fix this, how can we change this for the betterment of America, for our cities and towns. You brought it up. Homelessness has been an issue for a long time. For decades, it's been an issue. Obviously, it's become, I think it's, and this is my opinion, I think it's become more into the forefront because of our political polarization, really, in the last 7, 8, 9 years. So I think people have focused on it more. And because you do have, regardless if it's Democrats or Republicans that happen to be in places of power in cities around America, it's not just Democrats that happen to be mayors of New York City or Los Angeles or San Francisco. There are cities like Birmingham. I'm just throwing out cities that are large cities that also have homeless issues that may or may not have Republican leaders as well too. It's not just Democrats or Republicans that are prone to have issues regarding homelessness, okay? That's just not the way it is. But certain people out there would want to make you think that. But my approach to this would be absolutely from a place of I want to make it better. We want to kind of alleviate the problem. And again, this is kind of the same thing along the lines of COVID-19 or anything. I would search out people who are experts, people that are in the know when it comes to issues like this and get their advice on how we should handle it, right? There's a delegation of authority kind of aspect to that as well, too, which, you want people that know what's going on, that could actually fix the problem.
Right.
You want them to be in control.
Sure.
So that's my take. I approach it in that kind of fashion from that standpoint, and I think everybody else should, too.
Well, I think when we look at the homeless issue in this country, and certainly L.A., is a big part of a lot of people that are homeless. It costs like $3,000 for like a studio. It's crazy down there. But, there's a lot of reasons why people end up being homeless. A lot of it is mental illness, addiction, whether that be drugs, alcohol, or even in this city, a lot of it is probably gambling as well. These people need help. These are not all bad people. These are not people that are all lazy. These are people that need help. And I have no problem with the government putting some money aside to do that. I applaud those in LA that have passed this bill, so to speak, recently to help these homeless people and to get them in motels. And I hope these people take that. And I think it will probably save lives, and it'll also make the streets cleaner. You also have to have more programs to help these people that are mentally ill. But the important thing is these people need to want to get help. You can't force somebody to get help. They have to want to get help. But I think this is a good move, and I applaud them for taking the opportunity. Listen, when I drive down, and I used to drive a lot more downtown when I used to go to the 51 games back in Cashman, and I used to drive around that area a little bit more. It was very sad. Here I am as a member of the media going down to cover a AAA baseball game, and as I'm driving down there and you get off the exit, you see all these people in tents that are homeless, and it sucks, and I hate to see that, and it's very sad, and it's hard. At the same time, while you have to have compassion, you also have to understand that there are people in residential areas and businesses that don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of homeless people either. It's not that you don't care about people. It's not that you don't have empathy. You don't want people defecating in front of your business. So I think there's a lot more that needs to be done. But I think this bill helps attack both of those issues, where you'll get some homeless people off the streets. You'll get them in motel rooms with a bathroom, with a shower. You'll clean up the streets, which is very important, and it'll be safer. But also, you're helping these people. You're giving them warm water, a shower, like I said, a bed, and hopefully protection, and it'll be safer for them. So there's a lot more that could be done. I believe there's a lot more that will be done, but I think this is a really, really good policy and a really good start.
And let me throw this at you, Brian, because the detractors out there will say, "Oh, it's just you're what's up with the handouts? What's up with just giving people something and not necessarily putting them in a position where they can support themselves?" Right? The whole idea of you raise a village. And you don't say there's like a village over in Africa or something where there's people are starving, right? And instead of sending them food, what you should do is you should teach them how to farm, right? So that they can actually sustain themselves. Well, the whole idea, the same thing with homeless people, right? Like the idea is like, oh, you don't just want to give them an apartment or give them a hotel room. You want to put them in positions where they could be productive members of society, right? Maybe job training, things in which you can actually earn money where you could pay rent on said hotel room, right, or apartment, for example. So the detractors out there would say that, and by the way, a lot of them would probably be on the right, would be Republicans that would take that approach, because that's just kind of the mindset of Republicans when it comes to that. I talk about it as a Democrat who wants to talk about compassion and empathy, right?
Right.
And at times, yes, I think Democrats, and rightfully so, get the tag of, oh, you just want to hand stuff out to people, you just want people to be, to be just a suction on the government, basically, essentially, and there's people out there where you say, Brian, that say, hey, don't just hand them out something, make them actually be productive and actually do something for it.
Sure, and that's the thing. You want them to be a taxpayer, right? Mm-hmm. You want them to be a member of society that's doing something. A lot of these people are very troubled. They need help, and I want them to get the help that they need. So again, I applaud Los Angeles, those there passing this bill. I would imagine Republicans and Democrats that were for this, and at the same time, you get rid of their tent, you get rid of that space that they're in, and in turn, they get to be in a motel and hopefully be on the right side moving forward of cleaning themselves up and getting back in society and getting a job. That's what you would hope that would be the end result here. But it seems to be going okay. Like I said, it's not perfect. There are some mistakes that are being made. There are some motels that, there's no water, things are, because what Gavin Newsom, what they're doing is it's not just motels that are vacant, because my understanding is there are some motels that are still accepting guests to pay to stay there, and then if there's vacant rooms, they put some people that are homeless in there. But some of these motels that have been closed, they're reopening them, and I guess the government, taxpayers, are paying for reopening these motels, not because they're going to be open for business, but to be able to house some homeless people. So we'll see what happens here. We'll see how this pans out, but I do think it's a step in the right direction, and we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Quickly, though, Brian, you know the deal, though. It's going to be portrayed because it's L.A., it's California. You're going to get MAGA and the righties talking about,
Probably.
Gavin Newsom just handing out stuff in California, just absolute. The left-wing loony just, has his agenda, and he's just basically, he's like a socialist. And they just want to hand out stuff to people left and right. That's the way it's going to be.
Most likely, that wouldn't surprise me because when Republicans complain about the homeless, what are their solutions? Just like just about everything else, they don't have any solutions. They don't have solutions to gun control. They don't have a replacement plan for Obamacare. They don't know how to lower, inflation, and they certainly don't want to raise minimum wage. They don't have any solutions for the homeless. Their solution for, undocumented immigrants in this country is let's just deport everybody and build a wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it. They don't have solutions to any of the real problems facing this country. All they do is bicker and complain, and this is just another example of it where Democrats are actually taking action and doing something to help people, help local businesses, help make the streets safer, and help these people that are homeless have shelter. So I applaud them for doing that. All right, we're going to take a quick break. He's Chris Wynn. I'm Brian Shapiro. When we come back, my hoops guru, Jamison Welsh, is going to be joining us on the show. We're going to preview a USA basketball game at T-Mobile Arena tonight against Puerto Rico. What to expect in this game? There is a Vegas line as well. We'll see what Chris Wynn likes picking either side. We'll talk a little WNBA, too. Wow, what a rout. There's some speculation on why the Las Vegas Aces lost by like 40 yesterday. There are rumors circulating online. We're going to talk about those rumors because it's fun. And we'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this with Jamison Welsh. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. And tell them I sent you. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices. Office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. We got the big man, Paul McKeskey, is going to be co-hosting with me tomorrow. I know we're going to have a lot of fun there. About my good friends at Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care, located right down the road here at Sahara and Jones. They pretty much offer everything, and they take most insurances. If you don't have insurance, it's only a $95 payment. No appointment needed, but if you want to give them a call, you can in advance. It's 702-248-0554. You could also visit them online, SaharaWestUrgentCare.com. Andrew and Jessica will take care of you. They're good people, and they certainly took care of me. Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care. All right, we got some professional basketball to talk about tonight at T-Mobile Arena. The USA men's basketball team. Yeah, a little USA
Pro
basketball.
hoops,
Yeah. Well, it's
international friendly, right?
We got some professional players.
Showcase, right, is the word I believe that's been used.
Chris doesn't listen to my words. I said we have some professional players in action tonight. It's not.
Wait a minute. No, time out. No, you're not going to get away with that. I listened to exactly what you said. Everybody in PTL Nation heard what you said. Professional basketball.
No, I said we don't have professional basketball. We have professional basketball players in action tonight.
We'll rewind the tape.
Okay, yes.
We'll
Chris got to get that
we'll listen to it together later.
Chris got to get that MAGA wax out of his ears,
Yes.
or maybe it's the liberal wax out of his ears. I don't know.
Yes.
Anyway, and so that me and Chris don't get into another stupid 45-minute argument. That'll probably happen in the car in the next couple days.
Yeah.
Joining us right now on the line to kind of preview the game tonight, maybe talk a little Aces too, because that was a really embarrassing performance yesterday. Joining us right now is the Hoops Guru. Love always having Jamison Welsh join us to talk a little hoops. Jamison, how's it going, my friend? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing well, fellas. Thanks for having me. As always, definitely do appreciate it.
Appreciate it. All right, so Jamison, this is a different USA basketball team than in, obviously years past, and usually generally a year before the Olympics. You're going to see guys like Tatum and those guys on the team, but a lot of younger players. You got guys like Brunson, and there's certainly a lot of young star power, so to speak. But what do you make of this team that's assembled here in Vegas?
Oh, it's very interesting. It's very Nike heavy. It is also very CAA heavy. It's kind of how things go at Team USA. They do have their favorites and the guys that they tend to go after when it comes to these type of events. Now it's FIBA, so it's not as important as like the main national team, but you can tell the politics at play. Evan Mobley is the best young big man this country has, and he's not on the roster. And I don't think he's hurt or anything like that. That's a problem for a team that needs as much talent as possible. Not having your 21-year-old, big man that is the next face of the NBA or one of the next faces of the NBA that's a huge problem in my eyes, and that should not be the case.
Yeah, that's a good point, and there's probably different reasons. Some of it could be motivated by, liking or disliking somebody. It could be as simple as that, or it could be the fact that maybe somebody chooses not to play on the USA team, too. It could be that. I guess we don't know all the reasons for it, but I agree with you. Brandon Ingram, arguably the biggest star on this team, at least right now. What can you tell us at all about the Puerto Rican team that they are going to be playing tonight?
Well, it's a tune-up game, so it's fun. It's more for just, honestly, rotations and just seeing what lineups work, what lineups don't. Alvarado is the main guy on Puerto Rico that the casual NBA fan knows because we know how he plays in NBA. But with that being said, this is about the U.S. tonight. This is about what lineups works. Anthony Edwards is probably the biggest star on the team. Like, he's probably the biggest star, like, in terms of the guy that's going to be the next superstar.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably the guy I would point to because he's that good. He's already Minnesota's best player, and once they start running things through him, we're going to see that team get better. But they're a very interesting bunch because they have a lot of guys that complement each other very well, but I don't know who the lead guy is, and we're going to see who takes the lead because there's going to be a point in time in the game where they're going to need a basket, and they're going to have to go to someone, and someone's going to have to come through, whether that's Ingram, whether that's Anthony Edwards, whether that's Brunson, whether it's Bridges. I'm very curious to see how that goes.
Yeah, Jameson, there's no question, as Brian pointed out at the top here, this is not the 1992 Dream Team, right, where you're talking about the likes of Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, etc. This is a much younger group that is still, a lot of these guys still trying to establish themselves as NBA stars, right? Guys who are going to be, big-time players. What do you think about that whole element that is kind of in play right now when it comes to international basketball that the rest of the world has started to catch up, right, Jameson? That's kind of the way things in reality are when it comes to basketball. This isn't a situation, right, where the United States is far and away, the standard bearer, the unbelievable gold standard. I mean, there are teams and players around the world that have flat out caught up to us when it comes to the sport of basketball.
Not teams. To the depth, the depth of the team still, the U.S. is still way ahead depth-wise over everyone. Now, you can mention the starters, certain teams that have starting lineups that can rival the U.S., absolutely. Yeah. But when you think of roster-wise, 1 through 12, 1 through 15, there's no one messing with the U.S. in that regard, and that's still the case. And I think we have to kind of remember that. And I know it's a cool story to bring up, obviously in the NBA, the top 5 guys, a good 3 of them at minimum, are foreign guys or guys from different places. But it comes to the team aspect. You look at the depth of the team. I know Canada and France get a lot of pub on their teams. When you compare their team, their rosters, to U.S. rosters, you're going to take the U.S. roster every time. That's just how it goes. However, what this does signify, though, is there's been a change in this country from the older star players to this new group. And that's the interesting thing because for the longest time we've had LeBron, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, all those guys, Carmelo, all those guys. Now those guys are either at the end or already retired. Now we have a different group, and we have to see who takes the step for this younger group.
Let's talk a little bit about the coaching staff. Pretty darn good staff. Obviously, Steve Kerr is the head coach. You got Spoelstra. What an incredible job he did last year with the Miami Heat and multiple championships, of course. And then Tyronn Lue, another really good coach, and Mark Few, who some would argue is maybe one of the best college basketball coaches, certainly top 10 coach of all time, the job he's done with Gonzaga. What do you think of this coaching staff?
It's a great staff. It's a very good staff, and also, usually we have a staff like this, one of the head coaches gets a full term. Like they get the FIBAs and they get the Olympics, and usually somebody on this staff will take the reins going forward. So right now, Kerr's the head coach. He's going to get this year, next year, and then they'll pass it along. I think you either have Ty Lue or Eric Spoelstra being that next guy going forward that's going to be able to make those moves. So I think it's really exciting to have that as well, just like how we have the select team, right, and how guys on that team are going to be on the big team next year. I think with the coaching staff, you already have guys ready to take that next step when the time comes, and it keeps the organization, it keeps the familiarity, it keeps the continuity of everything. I think it's a really good system they have in place. I mean, if Mark Few is the least accomplished coach on your staff, you're doing something pretty good. So, absolutely, they're in very good shape.
So they're playing Puerto Rico tonight. Obviously, hey, Jameson, any a little motivation going on because of that 2004 loss I believe they lost by 19, right? In that game in 2004, and they end up losing the next game too, I believe, and played in the bronze medal round. But I want to say Carlos Arroyo and those guys are part of that team, of that Puerto Rican team. But any motivation for the guys tonight as they take on their opponents in Puerto Rico?
No motivation tonight. Tonight is more about getting familiar with with your teammates, because at the end of the day, they've only been in camp for a week or so.
Right.
So you've only played maybe that 5 practices or so. You're still getting used to guys and certain plays and certain actions and whatnot. So tonight is more about just getting more familiar on the court versus a different opponent. That's the biggest thing, making sure that guys, you get the rotation. So for coaches, they want to see who works best with who. Do they want to go small? Do they want to go big? Do small lineups work? Do 2 guards and 2 big wings? There's a lot. This is what that's for, which is fine. You don't want to, for instance, you wouldn't want Canada being the first game. That wouldn't be ideal because they are a very good team. This is a really good situation for everyone involved, and they should be victorious by a big amount tonight.
A name, by the way, on Puerto Rico, my friend Larry Eustacia reminded me, who coached this guy at Colorado State, as they call him Gio, the former Mountain West Conference Player of the Year. Gian Clavel is on this Puerto Rican team, so that'll be fun to watch him.
There's a name, Jameson, right?
Yeah.
A little Mountain West action?
Yeah. Really good player. Good player. He is a professional basketball player, maybe not a legitimate NBA player, but he is getting paid overseas, and he's a good player, and he was a really good college player, so that'll be fun to watch him play against some of these NBA guys. It is always a pleasure, Jameson Walsh, for you to come on and join us. As always, I appreciate you, my man. You going to be at the game tonight?
50-50. We'll see.
All right. Well, maybe 50% I'll see you there. So
we'll talk to you sooner than later, Jameson, all right?
Jameson, appreciate you coming on, my friend. Thanks as always. You take care.
Thank you.
Jameson Welsh, Hoops Guru, joining us on the show.
Yes.
All right. Again, during the season, I don't talk too much Aces basketball. I'm probably hold off and wait until the playoffs. But we got to certainly talk about the game yesterday. Brian Salmon joined me on the show when we were at Sapphire on Friday, and I told him I wouldn't be surprised if the Liberty won. I actually thought it was going to be a competitive game, but I as you can contest, as I showed you my betting slips, I did think the Liberty were going to win this game for a couple different reasons. The main reason being, and I try not to think too much about it, but the main reason, it's a more important game for the Liberty. The Aces have solidified themselves by far as the best team in the league. Everybody knows that. This was a game at home for the Liberty where they had to prove to all the WNBA fans out there, hey, we can not only compete, but we can beat this team. And they did. But you don't want to lose by 40 points. That's an embarrassment. Yeah. Asia Wilson was terrible, and I know she got hurt, and it wasn't a concussion, but I was really, really disappointed. You know who I'm going to bring up, your girl, Kelsey Plum.
Absolutely.
She was terrible.
Yeah.
The whole team was terrible.
The whole team was bad.
They were bad defensively. The effort wasn't there. The intensity wasn't there. They weren't making shots. They weren't getting to the line. Seemed like they were out of control every time they took ball to the basket. I also give a lot of credit to Liberty. They had a hell of a game, and they were really, really, really good. There are some rumors, and that's what I'm going to call them because I don't know this for sure.
Yeah.
But, Chris, maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on this. There were some rumors that there was a birthday. One of the Aces players had a birthday, and they were partying it up in Manhattan the night before. I don't know if that's true or not. What can you tell us?
We can't confirm those, or confirm or deny that that's the case. Cindy Colston was posting. Actually, it wasn't Cindy Colston. It was the Las Vegas Aces account on X/Twitter where they posted that it was her birthday, and then there was a little pre-game celebration. But yeah, we don't know. But look, people make logical conclusions, right? When you lose by 38 points. And you're clearing away the best team in the WNBA, and you and I, Brian, were watching this game. That third quarter, Vegas shot like 2 of 17 from the field. In the entire game, they were outscored 17-0 on second chance points.
Can't happen.
Vegas had 17 points in the second half. 17 points.
Let me ask you
in the
another
second
question.
half. It was a disgraceful performance.
Embarrassing.
And I'll leave it at this when it comes to my game analysis here. If you're the Aces, if you're Becky Hammon and you're Asia Wilson and company, when you're flying back to Vegas, when you're flying from New York to Dallas, because your next game is on Tuesday in Dallas, you should crank open the door, take that game tape, and chuck it out the window.
Yeah, it's a
because
throwaway.
that is one of those games where you want nothing. You're not going to want to look at that tape again.
I agree.
It was completely an embarrassment, and they got absolutely lambasted by the New York Liberty.
It's a throwaway game. Let me ask you another question, hypothetically speaking here, because Darren Waller was at the game.
He was.
So I would imagine that Kelsey Plum and Darren Waller were hanging out as husband and wife the day before. You think it's possible that could have affected her performance in any way, shape, or form?
Possibly, I guess. But it was really about Asia Wilson. She was just absolutely offensively
terrible.
It was a struggle for Asia, and I was pointing that out on social media too. So,
no, listen, Liberty's a good team. They're a good team.
But
the Aces
38
are
points. I mean, that should not happen.
No,
that's when I complain. You and I and Brian, you do too. I complain when it comes to the NBA. Right? I'm not comparing the WNBA and the NBA, but like. When teams are losing in the NBA by 20, 30 points, what are we doing, guys? I mean, you're professional basketball players. You're getting paid to be a professional basketball player. There should never be games in the NBA or in the WNBA where you lose by more than 20 points.
I agree.
I think it's ridiculous.
That's what I do when I look at this game. I don't think about, okay, well, they lost the game. Listen, Liberty, a good team. They lost on the road. They've had a phenomenal season. That's not the issue. The issue to me is how they lost. You can't lose by like 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's really the second half was an abomination. They were just horrible. And listen, the Liberty played extremely well. They were making shots. They were more physical. They were getting to all the loose balls. On offense, it just seemed like the team looked like they were disinterested. They were tired. They looked worn out. They looked like a team that was up late the night before, not taking this game seriously. Right. So hopefully this will get them back down to normal. Becky Hammond's a really good coach. I know you don't like me using the term great. She's a really good coach.
Absolutely she is.
This team is going to get back to basics tomorrow, and I can tell you right now the Shapiro play is take the Aces tomorrow. After that abysmal performance, I can almost guarantee you that the Aces, the Wings, are in a lot of trouble tomorrow night. And I could also tell you that the next game they play the Liberty, I think the Liberty are going to be in a lot of trouble. And I don't know whether the next game is at home or on the road, but I can tell you this, they're going to win that basketball game. I think the Aces are going to win. I don't care where it is. But it's a throwaway game. You just throw it away. The Aces are the best team in the league. On paper, there's no question about it. Will it probably be the Aces and the Liberty in the WNBA Finals? Yes, I'd be shocked if it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And I could see New York winning a game or two in New York. I could absolutely see that happening. But the Aces are the best basketball team in the league. Asia Wilson, obviously they're one injury away from maybe that not being the case. You need Asia Wilson to be healthy. Plum is a big part of this team. There's 4 or 5 players where you say one of them goes down, that really dramatically changes things. They have an unbelievable starting lineup. The bench is good, but the bench is not as good as maybe some other benches in the league. Bench is good. But yeah, this was even a shocker to me. I mean, I thought the Liberty were going to win this game, and I said this on the air Friday. I didn't think they were going to win by 40. When I looked at halftime and I saw they were down 6 or 7 points or something like that, I said, okay, that sounds about normal. This will probably be a close game. I expect the Aces to make a run, and New York will probably edge it out. That's what I thought was going to happen. I didn't think that the Aces would be outscored almost 30 points in the second half. It's crazy.
And our guy, Jim Gemma, just chimes in. Look, there's going to be a lot. These teams are facing each other a lot in the next month. It's crazy how many times they're going to be facing
basketball.
each other. But you brought up what the New York Liberty did in that game. I mean, Sabrina Ionescu was just unconscious, right?
She was unbelievable.
Knocking down threes all over the place.
31.
She had 31. Brianna Stewart's an MVP candidate every year.
She didn't have a great first half.
She had a decent game, but not
average,
great. And by the way, Jacqueline Jones is a big part of that team as well.
She is.
She is.
Nobody talks about
a
her.
real
She's
difference
really
maker for
good.
that team.
But listen. The first girl you mentioned,
Sabrina Ionescu.
Ionescu. I always struggle pronouncing her name. Kobe and her
had
a great relationship.
She had a great
She
relationship.
is a phenomenal shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, and when I say phenomenal shooter, I'm not just talking about straight up jump shots. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about off balance shots. She's like an artist. Somehow, when she's off balance, she uses the glass and she makes shots that a lot of professional players, men or women, cannot do. Very difficult what she does. She is a phenomenal. I'm not saying anything nobody that doesn't already know. She's an unbelievable player. Yeah. The thing that would concern me a little bit is Brianna Stewart didn't even have a great game.
Right.
Now, she's got size, and she affects the game in all sorts of different ways, but that's an extremely difficult matchup for Asia Wilson. So that's tough. With that said, I don't know if the game would have changed if A'ja Wilson doesn't take that elbow to the face or the neck or wherever she got hit. People are saying, well, A'ja was hurt. Well, I don't think she was because she had a concussion check, and they said she was okay. That's not why they lost the game. They lost the game because they looked ill-prepared. They looked tired. I don't know what happened the night before, but what I do know is that New York Liberty just embarrassed them. That was an embarrassing performance.
You can't.
Kelsey Plum and A'ja Wilson, right, guys? 6 of 30 from the field.
That's rough.
That tells a story right there.
Yeah, that's rough.
You can't win a game when you're outscored 50-17 in a half.
Yeah, that's
the only one that showed up was
bad.
Jackie Young. Jackie Young had a decent game.
Yeah, she shot the ball.
That was it. Yeah.
So again, I don't know what happened. Here's what we do know. They were embarrassed. Lucky for them, it's only one basketball game.
Right.
In the long term, it means nothing. Maybe you're giving the Liberty a little bit of confidence. That's just about it. It's one basketball game. In a 7-game series, you cannot convince me that the Liberty are going to win. I don't care even if they have home court advantage, which they won't. They're not going to win. So in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean anything. In short term, it's an embarrassing loss, and that can't happen. If you're vying to be one of the best, if not the best WNBA basketball team of all time, you can't lose a game by 36 points on the road.
Yeah,
it can't happen. So, again, I expect them to bounce back tomorrow, and I think the Wings, I wouldn't want to be the Wings right now waiting. I wouldn't be surprised if the Aces won by 30 against the Wings on the road. That would not surprise me one bit because these ladies on this team, they're very passionate, they're very competitive, and they have pride. And I think the pride is going to come out tomorrow. That's what I think. That's my opinion. I
don't know. Hopefully, there's nobody's birthday coming up in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Oh, I have to mention some other thing
because we can't blame it on that.
I thought, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
Chris, see, I do admit when I'm wrong. We had the Henderson Little League team in here. Right?
We did.
Yep. And congratulations, by the way, to this team because they beat Montana, I believe, 6-1. They're moving on to the Little League World Series.
They're heading to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, baby.
So Chris, in studio with the team, who I would like to think at times is the mush, went out on a limb and said that they were going to win, and I said, oh, you guys are done. Chris Wynn just said you guys are going to win. Chris was right. Our Henderson Little Leaguers.
So I saved a little coin. Now I don't have to take all the kids out to lunch because they'd lost, and they lost. At least they would have had that. They would have the solace of coming back to Vegas, and C. Wynn would have had to spring for some pizza or something. So I think I'm good on that.
We have a quick call. I got about 1 minute for Patrick.
Phone call.
Patrick, go ahead,
Patrick,
man.
what's up?
Hey, man, what's going on, guys?
What's going on?
Go ahead, Patrick. What's going on?
Well, I just want to see if y'all heard. It looks like Joe Biden's in the polls, not doing too good. Looks like he's behind Jimmy Carter as the worst-rated president in history.
And where are you getting that from, Patrick? Where are you getting that from? Where are you getting that
Andrew
from?
Romano from Yahoo News, who's played on CNN.
Gotcha. So Joe Biden. So Joe Biden. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll make a wager with you online. If it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, I still think Joe Biden wins. Would you like to make a wager with me?
I'd be happy to take that bet, but do you really think Joe Biden will be the nominee? It's more likely that Matt Newsom will be selected by the DNC.
Yes, I do. But here's what I want you to do, Patrick. I want you to call back tomorrow when we're not talking.
I like Gavin Newsom.
Yes,
I'm
when we're not, particularly not at the end of the show when we're talking WNBA basketball.
Exactly right.
Patrick, I want you to call back in our first segment tomorrow, and I will gladly continue this conversation with you. Sound fair?
Sure enough.
All right. Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks,
kind of tough to do it with
you want to jump in a little Joe Biden talk there at the end of a little hoops chatter.
I don't know where he got that from. Joe Biden, the least. What did he say? I don't even know what he said.
I said Joe Biden is the least popular. He's polling as the least less popular than Jimmy Carter back in 1979.
I don't know where that poll came from. Maybe he found that poll at Chippendales. I don't know. The other night. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes Joe Biden has some waning interest. I get it.
Yeah, there's people that don't like him. Yeah, but guess what? There are more people that don't like Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Winner, chicken dinner. Anyway, Chris, you got double
good times.
Isn't it? I heard a rumor, Chris, that you're doing the next 2 hours. Is that true?
I am doing the next 2 hours. We were in for TC. TC Martin is on his way to Big D. He's on his way to Big D, so myself and Wager Talks Marco D'Angelo.
Wow.
Where?
All right.
He's already there.
He's already Big D.
He's already posting food.
Well, stay tuned for C-Win, and then he's doing Ken Thompson's show tonight, so Chris is going to miss USA basketball.
All over the airways, my friend.
All right, well, fair enough. I wish you luck.
I will try.
And I'm going to get all your picks.
Try to pull it out.
I want to hear all your sports
By the way, we talked about this. Minus 20.5. I'm going Team USA tonight, Brian Shapiro.
I'm going the other way.
Okay.
I'm going the other way.
Makes sense.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Chris, for joining us. As
Yes.
always, appreciate it. I'll be listening in the car on the drive home to a little more C-Win action. Thank you to Justin and everybody here at KSHP. And even the people out there that hate me, and there's plenty of them out there. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.